Oh my goodness. What a weekend in sports. It's March and the tournament raging on. We're on to the Sweet 16. Purdue still in there. My bracket, no good. I'm at 45% of my best bracket that I made. Out of the 5 or 6, 45% was all that I could muster up. But hey, we're supposed to be the experts here. This is Last Call. My name is Caden Colford. Jake Helton sitting to my left, and Landon McQuitty is to my right. And don't worry, we are going to talk March basketball. However, all three of us were looking at the NBA, and we were wondering, what duo would we like to see together? Well, our fantasies come to life as we talk what could be one day. Probably not, but what could be. We'll start out with my own thoughts personally. And I was thinking about what I would like to see on the basketball floor, okay? I like Tyrese Halliburton as a pure point guard, as a pure passer, as someone who can see the floor better than anybody, and pairing them with one of the most dominant features the league has to offer, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You see the numbers, right? You see how they score. You see how they affect the game in every which way. I don't see how this two could go wrong.
I'd have to agree with you. I feel like that's a good matchup. I think there's better ones. You'll see I have different opinion, but Tyrese Halliburton really needs a dominant scorer on his team. They thought Pascal Siakam was going to be that guy, and he has been to an extent, but to take him to that championship level, I think they just need a little bit more than what Siakam is providing them, more perimeter scoring, as he's more of a put his back to the basket and he can get you a bucket just about any time you need, but you need a consistent 30 points from someone, and Giannis would answer that question pretty well.
Dude, I love Tyrese Halliburton as a player, and I feel like Giannis, this takes the playmaking load off of him. This allows for him, as soon as he receives the basketball, to just go to the basket and allow Tyrese Halliburton to worry about the other three guys on the floor, get them involved. And this team in transition, better than any team in the league, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things that made the Pacers so elite in their playoff run in the 2025 postseason was the pace. They could get anybody uncomfortable playing that high pace of basketball, and adding Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best, most efficient, high-paced players in the league, that would absolutely be a perfect running mate for Tyrese Halliburton. And, I mean, you see how good Obi Toppin looks next to Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
Imagine how he would make Giannis look. It would be insane.
And Pascal looks great. I'll never forget how the 2K trailer did Pascal. I watched Game 7. I watched Pascal Siakam dunk on Jalen Williams. So that Pacers team was good, and we're going to talk about that for years to come. But right now, I look at this duo, and I think that there is nobody in the league right now, if I was a superstar, that I'd rather play with than Tyrese Halliburton. Is that fair to say, Jake?
I mean, there's definitely other players in the league that, me personally, I would enjoy playing with.
Like who?
But I mean, you're talking Jalen Brunson. You talk about Jalen Brunson all the time. You wouldn't want to play with Jalen Brunson. You wouldn't want to play with James Harden. You wouldn't want to play with Donovan Mitchell. Wouldn't want to play
Not
with...
before Tyrese Halliburton. If I'm a guy that wants to eat myself, that wants to put up 30 myself, I'd choose Tyrese Halliburton.
All right, I completely understand that, and I will say that the Bucks team that went to the finals had a similar kind of lineup to what the Pacers would be bringing Giannis into. Chris Middleton, Pascal Siakam, they have similar games in that they can put their back to the basket and score. You have a big and Obi Toppin who can fill in and kind of play that second role, or even a 5 if you need him to, and then you're going to have your, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton. You've got the 3-4 other guards playing. I like this matchup, but you heard the name that I'm going to say next. And that's going to be Jalen Brunson. I think that Giannis and Jalen Brunson is the best duo. There's a reason why everybody was talking about him going to New York right around the trade deadline. Now, I will say, Jalen Brunson made the bad mistake. He really wanted Mikal Bridges to be on the team. They gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, and that has proved to be one of the worst mistakes in this franchise's history. But if they didn't do that, they would have been able to go get Giannis. They still might be able to get Giannis this summer. That is still a possibility that he could be in New York playing as a Knick start of next season. That's something to take into account. But Jalen Brunson is an all-around scorer. He can score from outside the three-point line. He can get downhill, and he has an insane mid-range. And then you look at what Giannis can provide. Giannis pulls the defense away from Jalen Brunson. If Jalen Brunson's one-on-one, you can almost count it as a bucket, and you could say the same for Giannis Antetokounmpo. What does he do? He shoots a lot of shots. What does Giannis do? He rebounds very well. Mitchell Robinson and Giannis Antetokounmpo rebounding down low. You said that he was one of the better rebounders whenever we were talking about Knicks versus Cavs. Yeah. And I would say, yeah, he is a really good rebounder. You throw in someone like Giannis, they're going to be pulling down every single rebound coming off of that rim. It's an unstoppable duo right there.
Landon, what does Jalen Brunson provide Giannis that Tyrese Halliburton might not, for argument's sake?
Well, Jalen Brunson, obviously, in terms of scoring, one of the best in the league. Only 6'1", but still can get to a shot, get to the rim, create a mid-range shot. And him and Giannis, that pick and roll would absolutely be killer. That pull-up mid-range for Brunson would be there almost every single time. And he would also have Giannis rolling to the rim. But when you really look at Jalen Brunson, you think about defensive liabilities a lot. And this is an era in the NBA where teams pick a bad defender and they go after you every single possession. They make it as hard as it for a coach to be as possible to keep you in the game. And for Jalen Brunson, this is a former Defensive Player of the Year in Giannis that would just take a load off him on that end.
Yeah, I didn't even get to that yet, but that was exactly where I was going next, was the defense, because the Knicks, you could say the defense is what's keeping them from that championship level. This was supposed to be their year. No Jason Tatum, no Tyrese Halliburton. This was supposed to be the Knicks' year, but you still have Boston, who's playing very good. Cleveland went out and made some moves, got a team that they're going to put towards the finals this year. It is a tough task going up against the East this year, and I feel like the Knicks have fallen short. What's going to put them on that next level? Obviously, one of the best players to ever step onto the court.
Well, just a question for you. Do you think that Jalen Brunson takes away shots from Giannis or vice versa?
No, he averages almost 7 assists per game. That's pretty good. He's a shot first type of guard, which is kind of what you need on a team like that. I feel like Cat has taken a step back in his aggressiveness. He's not as aggressive. He's not looking for a shot as much. It's where you need Jalen Brunson to come in, and he's winning them games just purely off of his scoring. You add defense, you add another scorer, you add some height to that team. Who's going to beat the Knicks with Giannis on them? I argue that nobody would beat them. They would be the closest. They would be closer than the Warriors to that undefeated season.
Jake says nobody's beating them. But one more duo to go, and that is with Landon McQuitty. Landon, tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah, I see we all went very similar ideas here, pairing a Giannis Antetokounmpo with an elite guard. I took a different approach, kind of more of a realistic approach. I think Giannis and Devin Booker would be an incredible duo, because we have seen Devin Booker, especially in the past, play off a great player, and Kevin Durant just last season. So we know that he could take a slight step back, and I think him and Giannis, the fit would be great. We saw them playing against each other in 2022, and I think this one is one that just has a tiny, tiny chance of happening. The Suns obviously have Jalen Green, have other young players. If they could get those players involved, maybe another team, I think they could honestly have a shot at putting this duo together and contending in this West that has been incredibly tough recently.
That is a very plausible. I didn't even consider this, to be honest, but now that we're thinking about it, I mean, I talked about Giannis going to New York. I think there's a pretty consensus feeling that he will not be in Milwaukee next year. They're trying to shut him down for the season. He wants to keep playing. We saw how that worked out with Max Crosby. He ended up staying, but the NBA is a lot different than the NBA, or the NBA is a lot different than the NFL. So I think we're going to see Giannis make a move here. He's going to go with his brother. It's going to be a package deal, and the Suns are a team that have the assets to give up. That's the problem with the two that we named. They don't really have the assets to go get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Suns, that's not a bad thought. I think we're going to come back to this next year and think Landon's a genius.
Well, Devin Booker's kind of fallen off the radar, right? Because Phoenix hasn't had the season that you would necessarily love them to have, especially in a West that is just jam-packed with players on players and teams on teams. But you forget that D-Book himself dropped, 71 not too long ago. He was a really key part on the Team USA team a few summers ago, and I like Devin Booker as a player. He's never really had that big to rely on, though. When you look at a lot of great guards throughout NBA history, and even recently, a lot of them have a good big to bounce off of, and I don't think D-Book has had that yet in his career.
I mean, you could argue that he really hasn't had anything at all.
He had an old Chris Paul.
Kevin Durant is a great scorer, but that doesn't really help out Devin Booker because he's a scorer as well. And then you talk DeAndre Ayton I don't even think you could put him in the big conversation at this point. He's playing a lot better though now, I will say. He's playing a little bit better. But you look at that team and, okay, the Suns have some work to do. This would be a great move to get them into not necessarily contender position, but get them back in the playoffs. You got to start somewhere. This is a team that has been struggling as a franchise. Got to find a way to get the train back on the tracks, and Giannis is not just going to put it back on the tracks. I mean, that's putting it straight tracking it to the NBA championship.
Tell me what you see in this dynamic between D-Book and Giannis. What's that team play like? What's it look like, Landon?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the Suns have been incredibly disappointing recently. It's not just this past season, but ever since making the finals in 2022, they just haven't made a lot of noise. I really think they had a great core group with Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. That was a great team, but decided to go another direction, traded for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. Not really the best fit in terms of basketball. That's why they turned away from that so quickly. But if you're going to prioritize and really try and capitalize on this Devin Booker prime that he is now entering, he's about, 27, 28 years old. These are the best years of his career. If you want him to stay in Phoenix, then you need to make a competitive move. And I think trading for Giannis, it's on the table, it's realistic, as I mentioned, and could put them back on top.
I look at Jamal Murray and Devin Booker as two similar players, come from the same college, play a similar style of basketball. One of them plays for a championship caliber team. One of them plays for the worst team in the NBA, and you definitely look at Jamal Murray as a little bit better, a little bit higher than Devin Booker. But if you're looking at just pure ability, I think Devin Booker might have the edge there. It's just Jamal Murray's been with a better team for longer, and he's been more consistent in doing so. But we heard DeMarcus Cousins say it, when you're the game plan every night, it is that much harder to go out and score, and he does it every night. So I think adding Giannis takes a little pressure off him, takes a little pressure off Giannis as well. It's a good duo right there.
But what sticks out to me is in all three of us, it's Giannis and insert player here. What is it about Giannis that makes him a unanimous fit for almost every team, every scheme?
I mean, I'll tell you why I picked him. One, because he's kind of up on the trading block, so to speak, so there's possibility that some of this could happen. But there is no player that I think could fit into any system better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. You could throw him into a high three-point shooting team. You could throw him into a team that's going down low a ton. You can throw him into a heavy ball movement where it's a lot of screens like the Warriors offense. You could put him in just about any system. He's going to play defense, he's going to get rebounds, and he's going to shoot layups. I mean, it's easy to put someone in a system when all they're doing is scoring at the basket, going around somebody and scoring. You add a jump shot, you add someone who can shoot, it's just a whole nother layer to it, because if I'm Giannis, I'm driving in, I got two options right now. I'm either scoring or I might kick it out to Pat Connaughton to shoot a three, but outside of that, I'm going to score the ball. You throw someone like Devin Booker, you throw someone like Jalen Brunson, throw someone like Tyrese Halliburton, they're kicking and they're shooting. And that's for all five players on the floor. Their facilitating is going to carry over. I think it's going to be just like what we saw from James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. We thought that ball hog plus ball hog doesn't equal good basketball. It does sometimes, because a right system, a right coach, they can find a way to pair things together to get it to work. And I think Giannis is the perfect piece to kind of cut and mold into a puzzle.
We're at a weird time in the NBA because there was a point where if you were the MVP at one point, you were off the trading block for the majority, if not the rest of your career. Landon, we forget that Giannis himself, as you said, is a depoy, is an MVP, had his Bucks at the top of the East for a long, long time. He still has some juice left in the tank as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is my opinion. At the trade deadline, I thought if he were traded to any team he would go to, instantly would most likely become a contender. Obviously, barring one of the worser teams in the league. But I think if he were to go to a team like Phoenix or like Portland this season, they would have had the potential to make a push with that talent. But you mentioned on the trade block, Jake, just in the forefront of our minds, Giannis Antetokounmpo definitely has been there. And since the Luka trade, anybody's untouchable. Nobody's untouchable. Anybody can be traded for anywhere. And honestly, it wouldn't be too far off of that Luka trade if we just saw Giannis go away for a couple of first-round picks.
I feel like if you're a Pacers fan, you already got one of your dream trades. Zubac coming to Indiana, I mean, that's crazy.
It is. And we'll keep track of Pacers basketball, not so much here in the coming year or the rest of the season, but this next year, with Tyrese Halliburton healthy, Zubac back with his fractured rib, we'll see how they do. I like Indiana next year. Mark it down. Keep your phones ready. We'll see if Giannis goes anywhere. But it's March, and you know what that means. We're talking college basketball up next on Last Call.
And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, and welcome back to UND TV News.
For the campus, local, and national headlines you need to know, tune in to UND TV News, Mondays at 6.
March basketball. Oh my goodness, it has been amazing already. Who would have thought Iowa somehow finds himself in the Sweet 16? I did not. My bracket, not doing well. Jake, yours a little better.
Well, I'm at 97%. I know that doesn't really mean anything after Florida losing. I had Florida in my Final Four. I actually had Florida in my national championship, so not too happy about one of those games. But I've done solid. I feel like this year has been a little bit easier than others because we are going pretty chalk down the board, but you got a team like Texas making some noise. There's been enough upsets to keep it interesting for me. I think some people are being a little bit too overcritical and maybe a little bit too overdramatic in saying that the Cinderella story is over because Tennessee, that's a Cinderella story. Let's be real. They weren't supposed to beat Gonzaga. Yes, I 100%. Going from playing the play-in game to getting in, they're a Cinderella, and maybe not your traditional, but this is going to be kind of the new form. A double-digit seed is considered a Cinderella in my eyes. They were not. I don't think they're a better team than BYU. I think they played a better game than BYU.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a better team than Gonzaga. I think they played a better game, and their coach, Sean Miller, he's a former coach of Xavier. He out-coached both of those coaches. Mark Fuse is one of the best to do it. He's had the most experience over the past 25 years, and he still out-coached him.
A lot of times in March, you're hot or you're not. Let's walk you through it if you haven't been able to keep up with every game on the slate. First, we're going to look at the East, where Duke and St. John's are going to square off in what should be a very, very fun game with another right across from them in Michigan State, Tom Izzo, Dan Hurley. That's a coaching classic waiting to happen after Louisville falls, UCLA kicks the bucket, Kansas goes down on a buzzer beater, and, well, TCU, frankly, just ran into Duke. I think this one is going to be super, super fun, but we take a look down the list at the West at this point, where Arizona moves on after a great victory for them over Utah State at that point. Arkansas going to find their way in as a 4 spot with Texas, your Cinderella story, set to take on Purdue. Let's look at that matchup really quick while we can. Texas and Purdue, 11 versus 2. First thoughts?
I think Purdue's going to have the initial advantage due to the guard play, but I think we've seen that Purdue has kind of struggled once they get to this point in the tournament. I think they stand a good chance just of what I've seen and listened to this year. I listened to a lot of their radio or a lot of their games on radio, and they get excited. They get pretty excited. Jumpin' Jack Benner is, I played against him in high school. He'll be the star player next year. I have no doubt about it. Him and Luke Ertl from Mount Vernon here in Indiana, they're going to knock things down. They're going to maybe cut down some nets as well next year. But I look at the guard play as the thing that's going to take them to the next level, take them over Texas.
I think so as well. Braden Smith, now your assist champion in all of NCAA basketball, which is insane to say considering you and I were knowledgeable about this kid since his days at Westfield. And he was always somebody that you knew was going to go out there and really do the thing, and he's done that. Purdue knocks off Queens 104-71 first round and then beats Miami and the former Hoosier Malik Renew 79-69.
He's a big dude now. He put on some. Yeah. He put on some weight.
He was also at the concession stand after the game. That's probably why he's that big, honestly. And Malik Renew, he's supposed to be a draft pick here soon. That was a good win for Purdue and a hard one.
It was, and I thought he played a good game as well. But Purdue, Matt Painter, I mean, he just gets that team to the play at a different level come tournament time. I feel like this is not the same team just 2 months ago that we were seeing.
He's the top 3 coach in the country. In my eyes, for sure. And I think that he has an argument to make for number 1 at some point.
We just look at what he did with Zach Edey. And I compare him to the guy at Florida, Oliver Rue or whatever his name is. He's 7'9". He hasn't played a minute. Zach Edey was playing his 2nd year on campus.
He's in the NBA.
And
was a lottery pick after he wasn't supposed to get drafted at all.
But that's what I'm saying. The developmental power or prowess of Matt Painter is what is getting these players to the next level. Braden Smith was a good passer. He wasn't a great passer in high school. He's a good passer. Now he's a great passer, one of the best to ever do it. He has the most assists. I think you could say he is one of the best passers to ever play in college basketball. And on top of that, he has had shooters around him. He's had one of the best scorers in Zach Edey with him. He has had all the pieces to put this together, and I think you can safely say this record will never be broken. I don't think this record will ever be broken.
And now, the Midwest, as we look at it, seeing another flurry of good teams with Tennessee in there, Michigan, Alabama, and Iowa State. An injured Iowa State getting the win over Kentucky yesterday. They were on fire. absolutely on fire.
It's really the second half. They didn't play a great first half. Kentucky shot the ball really well in the first half, numbers-wise. And then you get into the second half, the defense, it just built up. Kentucky had 20-some turnovers. It was not a good showing for Mark Pope and his squad. This is now the second, I would consider, early exit for a Mark Pope Kentucky team. Kentucky fans definitely not happy about that. But I think the team to mention out of all of these is going to be Tennessee. Alabama's still missing Aiden Holloway. He got arrested a couple days before the beginning of this, and so I think Michigan stands a little bit better of a chance of winning that game. But I think Tennessee is the team to watch for in this region because they've been playing great. Rick Barnes is a great coach.
Yep.
He coached some of the best. Coach Kevin Durant, one of the best. I consider the best scorer in the entirety of basketball ever, and now he's got a pretty solid squad. Nate Ament. And then Colin Gillespie, I think is what his name is, Lucas Gillespie, whatever his name is. He is a very talented shooter, and he shot some tough threes yesterday, and I think he's the reason why they won that game and why they could potentially take down a very, very talented Iowa State squad.
Well, Jake, you and I were talking last week on what it takes to get out of the first and second round. Now things start to tick up, if they can even do that, right? You're in the Sweet 16. Does anything change?
I think it relies a little bit more on the coaching because you've got a lot of young players at this point. You could look at all the teams left other than I think Iowa and Houston are going to be the two most experienced teams, I feel like, in all of the bracket. And even then, you're talking about like 2-3 seniors. So it comes down to coaching. You got to get your team ready. You got to have the right game plan. And we've seen game plan can overpower offense. Florida, they were talking about it before the game, and I was like, on the pregame show, I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. They were like, Florida, you could check every box for Florida, but it is way easier to slow a team down than it is to speed them up. And Iowa slowed down Florida, and they beat them. So it's obviously stylistic coaching, I feel like, is going to have the biggest impact on these next two rounds and obviously the championship as well.
And speaking on Florida and that upset, let's look at the south part of our bracket where we're seeing a 9 and a 4 seed in the mix with Houston and Illinois on the other side. I think there's a very good chance, and this, I'm talking as a 45%er here in the bracket challenge, but I think there's a very good chance that we can see Houston or Illinois find their way not only just to the Final Four, but to the national championship game. These two teams have been absolutely electric offensively, and they're winning by a lot with every game.
And I think there's a lot of volatility that comes with an Illinois squad that relies on the three, but they rebound very well, which kind of offsets that. So I think that helps them, favors them. But Houston, the first thing you're going to think about is the guard play. I mean, you got Flemings, and they have won Emmanuel
They've been well coached, one of the best teams in the NCAA.
They
for
are
the last
a tough
10
team
years.
to see in front of you in this tournament because of what they have done. You know that they're almost a lock for the Final Four, which can put a little pressure on you if you're Illinois. So I don't know if they handled that necessarily, but you also can't get caught looking forward because those two teams on the other side could definitely knock off either one of those two. I 100% believe that, especially if it's Illinois. I think either two of those Big Ten squads, it's a Big Ten game. Anybody could win that.
Well, just to answer the question that I posed to you, Jake, a few moments ago about what changes here in the Sweet 16, I think this is where experience starts to come into play. I think Purdue's gotten past their big hump. Really, I mean, it's that first and second round. You're not seeing a St. Peter's anymore. You're playing legitimate basketball, which obviously doesn't make things easier. But this is Matt Painter's team who's been there, been to the national championship against UConn. You have guys like Tom Izzo and Dan Hurley who have been at this big stage. And against coaches who might not have seen that trophy within their grasp like that, that holds a lot of value come these last few.
Before we get off this, I do want to say I think this was the South region. I think this was the hardest to predict because you had so many potential upsets. We thought Penn had a chance of beating Illinois. We talked a little bit about that a week or two ago. McNeese was a team we had mentioned. Clemson was a team that their defense was going to give them a chance to slow down, same as Iowa, and they obviously did slow down Florida. They were very effective in doing so, but this was almost impossible. This is where most of your brackets got broken. The last two brackets came down to Tennessee versus Virginia and then St. John's versus Kansas. They both had different ones on both of them, and obviously St. John's won on one of them, and then Tennessee won on theirs. So no perfect brackets anymore, which makes me feel a little bit better about me being – I'm 97% right now, so this is one of my better brackets that I've ever filled out. I had a perfect second day. It was going great, and then that Florida game kind of messed things up for me. But You said one team that you did not think had a possibility of making it to where they are right now that I think has a chance to win the championship right now.
Tell me who.
I think it's Coach Cal and the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think it was you and I having a conversation with somebody not too long ago about why would Coach Cal leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas. But you forget, Arkansas is one of the better programs in all of the SEC. If you're talking about success-wise, they've made it to the tournament quite a few times. They were actually in the, I believe it was the Elite Eight the year before.
I remember the Jalen Williams days.
Yeah, the year before Coach Cal went there. I think they were in the Elite Eight, or maybe 2 years before Coach Cal was there. This is a good Arkansas team with a lot of heritage, and they pack the stands. They get a lot of people at those games. Coach Cal, all of his former players, they're no longer Kentucky players. They're Arkansas players.
Who was saying that? I just saw
your boy,
the tweet.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh, my goodness.
After he's a former Iowa State Cyclone, after they beat him, he went to do a little bit of smack talking, and there was nobody to smack talk to. Everybody's an Arkansas fan now, which I kind of get, though. I feel like you would feel a little more loyalty to the coach, especially a coach like Coach Cal.
If you're a one and done?
Yeah, if you're a one and done, there is no loyalty to the school. It's all to the coach. But I'm telling you right now, Arkansas has a chance to take down Arizona. I think they are one of 2, maybe 3 teams that has a chance to beat Arkansas or beat Arizona. I think it is Arkansas, I think it is Michigan, and I think it is Duke. Those are my 3 choices to win the national championship after watching the first couple rounds. Those are my 3 guarantees, if you will.
All right, so you said Michigan, Arkansas, Duke. That's pretty hard to dispute. I can't lie to you because Duke looks like a freight train right now. And St. John's is a good team. I think we really get a good look at how good Duke is when they kill St. John's by 50.
I think we get a good look at how good Cameron Boozer is when he gives it to Zuby Ejiofor. I mean, that's not even a matchup in my mind. Ejiofor is a very nifty, agile big. Cameron Boozer's power. He's coming straight at you. And I think this is going to be a game that is won in the paint by Duke, and I think it's going to be a blowout in the paint. I'm talking like 50-20 in paint points.
Well, Dan Hurley, it was funny because he was on the presser after his game. He was like, yeah, we're really rooting for St. John's here. I know that we're not best friends, but we want a bloodbath on Sunday. Yeah, I'd want a bloodbath on Sunday too, because if it's not St. John's, you're out of there in a hurry. You're out of there after the first half against Duke.
Hey, if you're UConn, though, the Indiana kid finally hit a shot. Braylon Mullins was like 0 for 11, 0 for 10 from behind the three-point line to start off this tournament. He finally hit a couple shots in that game and got going. So that's a good sight for them. And it's another big coach, I would say, Mick Cronin, who they took down for UCLA. But this is the best region of the bracket simply due to the coaches. I mean, you could wipe the teams and put 100 new guys.
Could go out there and hoop.
That's what I'm saying.
Lace them up.
You could put Rick Pitino on the worst. Look at Iona. When he brought Iona into the tournament, that was one of the worst teams in college basketball. Took them from the worst to into the tournament. And I think that you're looking at that bracket, everybody, Shire, everybody on that side, or what is that, the East, anybody in the East, any of those coaches, you put them on any team, I think that they're a contender. Just like that. And that's what makes this region so scary. Whoever makes it out of there, they've already went through the bloodbath. They're feeling it a little bit. I think they get to as long as they don't run out of gas. That is always the thing to worry about. I think Duke ran out of gas a little bit in the first half against TCU. It scared me a bit.
If I was going to pick someone who could be the biggest shock, I like Illinois.
Illinois.
And they have a low ceiling, or excuse me, a low floor, but a really high ceiling. When a team's shooting the ball well, they are very, very tough.
I would agree.
That's my shocker. But Sweet 16 action gets started this Thursday and Friday, and then the Elite Eight will be that Saturday, Sunday directly after. And then after that, Final Four will be right here in Indianapolis. The JW Marriott looks great right now, and we'll see how it fills out. Now it's time for the Primetime Pick Em. Last week, I picked against every single pick that Jake had. Ooh. And wow, look at that go right there. Somebody has got to mix things up. That somebody is me, as we're looking at a few of our games here in the bracket to decide a winner this week.
Gotta switch it up. I was getting too good at the NBA picks.
Right, and I needed some help. It's going to be Texas and Purdue. We both talked about this one. Jake, where's your head at?
I feel like the team that's hot right now is Texas. I feel like they've got the momentum, so to speak, but the guard play of Purdue, give me Purdue.
Well, if I had to guess, if we look back to last week's Primetime Pick Em records, I was down by a lot.
It was a rough week. It was rough for you. I think
this week too?
I don't know about this week. I didn't do the numbers, but 4-1 versus 1-4 is what it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and pick the underdog here. I think that, my bracket's already busted. My pick 'em record is pretty busted as well. So how much worse could it get? We're playing from behind. I'm picking Texas, with the next game being Arizona against Arkansas. We were just talking about Coach Cal. Can he do it against the 1 seed?
You know what? I'll put my money where my mouth is. We'll go Arkansas.
Okay, I'll take Arizona then. I'll take Arizona. We'll move right down the list. I get to go all chalk aside from Texas, hopefully, maybe, possibly. Duke versus, we're talking Illinois and Houston up next. This will be the 26th on Thursday.
I think I know who you want to pick, and I'll go with the opposite. I'll go with Houston. Kingston Fleming's got a little Emmanuel Sharp in there.
Okay.
Obviously, Sampson. Don't get much better.
I don't think you can pick a loser in this game because Illinois does have upset potential, but Houston's been there, done that. We talk about experience. If any program has it at this point, Houston is that program.
Ask me about the exciting games. This is going to probably be the most exciting game because you got Keaton Wagler, and then you've got the guards of Houston. This is going to be an electric matchup.
So your pick was Houston.
I'm going to go with Houston because I think that they're going to be able to force Illinois to take bad shots, and then they can rebound a little bit better than some other teams. Has been a problem, but I think they figure it out.
Maybe Illinois just hits a few bad shots and your boy gets back on track. Duke and St. John's, we were just talking this one. Two great coaches squaring off, and does Rick Pitino find a way to beat Thanos, beat Goliath here in the Sweet 16?
Gives them a chance. I think obviously they have a very good possibility. They've been playing great basketball to end the season, the Big East Championship. I thought they played very well against UConn, but this isn't UConn. This isn't Dan Hurley. This is John Shire and the Duke Blue Devils, who about a month ago I said it was their year to win the championship. So I'm going to stick with them over St. John's.
Well, I don't have a stomach. I'm going with St. John's because I need them to win. It's no longer a want, it's a need. Here on the Primetime Pick 'em, St. John's gets it done in the Sweet 16, says Caden Colford. Tennessee and Iowa State, our last matchup on the slate.
Might be the toughest one. I know Illinois and Houston's going to be the best game, but this one's going to be good because you're going to have the defense of Iowa State and then you're going to have the offense of Tennessee. Tennessee's got an elite offense. Does Rick Barnes figure it out? I think he does. I'm going to go Tennessee on this one.
I'm glad you did because I really did want Iowa State in this game. The way that they played defense in their last matchup was absolutely beautiful. I really, really feel like Kentucky was just struggling to find shots. Guards could not get to their spots. They weren't finding paint touches. And that's the recipe for success. It's hard to replicate, but if any team can do it, I like this Iowa State.
If you were watching that Iowa State versus Kentucky game, you might as well just erase it from the memory. Act like it didn't happen. That was the worst game. What did I tell you? I told you 2 weeks ago, Kentucky on their best day is as good as Duke. On their worst day, they are worse than who? Louis, LIU, Long Island University.
There you go.
They're worse. They are one of the worst. They turned the ball over 15 times in the first half. Jasper Johnson was driving through the lane, just losing it out of bounds. It felt like everybody on Kentucky forgot how to play basketball, and it seems like that happened like 6 times this year. As a coach, you can't let that happen. Mark Pope's got to figure something out. That has to be better. But for Iowa State, they're missing their best player. I think they start to feel that as you get deeper into the playoffs. And I think this is the game, this offense. And honestly, Tennessee's defense has been solid too. I mean, they're giving up a little more points than I think they would have liked to. Definitely not against Miami, Ohio. They played phenomenal defense against Miami, Ohio. Only 56 points for them. So give me Tennessee in this one. I think that the injury finally comes back to bite Iowa State.
Let's take a quick look at our records just cause. Oh my goodness.
It's a blowout.
That's my goodness. Okay, new rule. These games are worth double points because somehow I'm down double digits. Wow. Oh my. Did I go 1 for 4 again?
I think so.
1 and 4 again.
Oh, wow. The Timberwolves of all teams were the team that got me. Man.
Oh, man.
All right, Ant, I got you. I got you, Anthony Edwards.
This is last call. That's Jake. He's whooping me in the Primetime Pick 'em. We'll try it again next week.